call. It's getting harder for me to get in and out of the roll call.
Good evening, everybody. I'll call this meeting to order, and Suzanne, would you start with the roll call?
Thank you. Mayor Levy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Harvey is absent this evening. Councilmember Carr.
Here.
Councilmember Matthews.
Here.
Councilmember Saunier.
Here.
Councilmember Sawyer.
Here.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. You know, I always say this, we live in a great community, and we have great people that live in our community. Mayor Pro Tem Harvey tonight, as part of her job at Peterson Air Force Base, is doing everything she can to assist those in Florida in lieu of Hurricane Matthew. And so after the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, I'd like everybody to stand for a moment of silence. Okay? That said, everybody, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We all pray for Florida. Okay, we move on to agenda item number 4, and Suzanne?
Thank you, Mayor Levy. This evening, we have an appointment to the Keep Woodland Park Beautiful Committee. There are currently 4 vacancies on that committee, and we just keep it ongoing advertisement on Facebook, Channel 10, the website. And we were lucky enough to get an application from Linda Garrett, who would like to be on that committee. She is here in the audience this evening to answer any questions. And after approval, I am ready and prepared to swear her in.
Great, thank you very much. Linda, would you like to come forward and just give us your name and address at the podium, and we'll go from there.
My name is Linda Garrett. Can you hear me okay?
Great.
Okay. My address is 785 Sunrise Circle in Woodland Park, and I love living here.
Well, we love having you here. Seems like every time I turn around, we run into each other, so I know you're very active, and we appreciate your application. Council, any questions for Linda today?
Thank you for volunteering.
Hey.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, that said, let's take a vote.
Yes.
Sounds good. Suzanne?
How about a motion?
Let's have a motion to accept.
We'll start with
Sorry, let's start with the motion to accept Linda Garrett.
I move that we accept Linda Garrett and Keep Woodland Park Beautiful Committee.
Second.
Thank you. Suzanne?
Thank you. Carr?
Yes.
Levy?
Yes.
Matthews?
Yes.
Saunier?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Please stay right.
Swear
Come out
her
here.
in.
I know Norma likes to get a picture. So if you want to join me out here, and just raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Linda Garrett. I, Linda Garrett. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution. Of the United States. And the state of Colorado. The charter and ordinances. The city of Woodland Park. And that I will faithfully perform. The duties of Keep Woodland Park Beautiful Committee. Upon which I'm about to enter. Congratulations and thank you. This is what makes it official.
That's a great addition.
Thank you. And then I'll have you sign the second one. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Linda. We'll move on to Deb Miller and our annual presentation from the Greater Woodland Park Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Mayor, City Councilman, for having me this evening. Let's see. Mayor, I also want to say thank you for mentioning those down in the harm's way. I know it's on Suzanne's mind tonight. It's certainly on my mind. Our family is down there, and even though we encourage get out, they tend to do things they want to do. So it's a pleasure to be with you tonight. My name's Debbie Miller. I'm president with the Greater Woodland Park Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here to do my annual Visitor Center recap and report. My first slide may be a little busy, but it is pictures of things that we do within the Visitor Center. You'll see the poster over on the left. I also brought with me, we turned the poster into a rack card this year. So on the front side and back side is everything that you see listed there. We had 5,000 of these printed and taken out to lodging, restaurant, dining, different places to promote all the signature events that we have. In addition, we have the brochure up there that goes out to the 10 visitor centers in Colorado. We have our profile book. On the right is the cover of our map. We're having a new map developed. And believe it or not, why almost everything is mobile now and you can do your maps and things from a mobile standpoint, the number one thing asked for is our local map. People really want to touch things and see it. You'll also see kind of a snapshot picture of our weather cam. And over the past several years that we've had the weather cam with KRDO, we certainly have had such great coverage. This morning alone, in a 2-hour period, they showed the weather cam 6 different times. Something about snow up here in Colorado Springs was really it's snowing in the mountains. So our weather cam gets a lot of play. Moving on, I want to talk tonight, we always talk a little bit about data. For purposes of this report, it's October 1st of 2015 through September 30th of 2016. Dean Runyon Report is a national report through the industry, tourism industry, that we go to and look at data and stats about tourism. And they just completed their 2015 report for Colorado. You'll see that direct travel spending equals $19.1 billion. That's actually up from a couple of years ago, as is the jobs of 160,000. It's 10,000 more jobs in the state of Colorado. The Pikes Peak region looks at Teller, El Paso, and Fremont County. 8%, we've stayed pretty consistent over the last 3 years with an 8% cut of the 19.1 billion pie. And I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about overnight travel, and that's not just lodging, but we take in the Pikes Peak region of that 8%, 1.8% of that is in the overnight travel. So talking about overnight travel, and we'll talk about it in respect of Teller County, when we talk, it's the lodging cost, it's food, it's entertainment, it's arts and culture. When somebody comes up and rents that four-wheeler and they go out to do their four-wheeling, that's included in here. It's transportation. When someone buys gas, that's included, as well as the lodging. So I want you to keep this in mind as I go to the next slide, because I actually went back to the report and actually contacted and questioned, because the numbers are pretty astounding for Teller County as a part of this pie. So in 2015, overnight travel, that includes all of those entities that I talked about earlier, we had $146.6 million overnight dollars in 2015. That equates to about 1,600 jobs within our region, within Teller County, earnings of about $48 million. That's about $1.1 million in taxes. And remember, it covers all those entities. So when somebody's buying gas, that's sales tax. When somebody's eating in a restaurant, when they're renting the ATV, and then $2.1 million in state sales tax was paid out of Teller County going to the state. Those are pretty significant dollars when you talk about tourism in the region. So let's drill down and let's go to Teller County. So Teller County, and let's look at the actual lodging. You get your sales tax reports and your lodging tax dollar reports each month that come out from the city, so you know that we're increasingly going up. So we do every couple years a survey of what type of lodging do we have in the area. So Teller County numbers actually incorporate what we have in Woodland Park, but you see that there's about 978 rooms. Of that, 101 of those rooms are here in Woodland Park. There's kind of this thought that there's more availability here than 101 rooms, but that's what we have in Woodland Park proper. You'll see the heads to beds, that's what we equate that can actually stay in there. In addition, our campsites, it's hard to determine the number of campsites. There are so many National Forest campsites that we can't just go out and actually include. So we know our campsite numbers are a little down. But you can see we're significantly poised to, at least through cabins and rooms, to have close to 4,000 people in our region. How do the stats break down for the year? We saw an 8% increase in visitors, about 10,000 visitors over the time period came through. Typically, Colorado is always number one. I mean, who would want to leave Colorado? It's fabulous to travel through here. I've been here 11 years, and I can tell you this is the first year I've seen as many Texans as I have, and nothing against anybody from Texas, City Manager Buttery, but they're taking us over. I can just tell you, it's amazing what we're seeing, and they're coming here to move here. They're done with the heat, they're done with the crowds in Texas, and they want to come here. Number 5 is international visitors. Last year it was number 4. International, I call the Karis effect. They have so many special events that go on through the year that bring people from everywhere, and we're seeing those people come into the visitor center. We've had about a % increase in phone calls. Illinois is new to that this year, as is California. California's back. When I got here in '05, California was the one kind of taking things over. But they're coming back a little bit at a time in our area. We've had an increase of 3% in our web visits of 4 million, and this is all the data that we collect within the visitor center. So how do we reach visitors, and how do visitors reach us? I love the family photo because we have this little dog in our office. It's not real. Everybody thinks it is when they hit the office. But you know, we are a pet-friendly community, and a lot of people travel with their pets. They come in, they come to see us. We use social media, certainly through the phone, through our email, through our website. Mobile is becoming bigger in our area. We have a mobile app that addresses a lot of issues. We advertise via television, through radio, and also through print media. We have a large focus on Fort Carson and also with the military. We had some gentlemen in today from Schriever saying, how can we get more active in your community? We want to do more things up here as well. We love coming to your community. So these are ways that we reach out and that people reach us as well as far as visiting. I'm kind of a data thing. I like to look at different things. So I went back and took this time period with our website and looked at our Google Analytics. It amazes me that it's still desktop at 60% and 40% mobile. I'm guessing if we look at this data next year, we're going to see that flipped, because more and more, everybody is taking this and they're doing things. The browser that's most used is Chrome. I was surprised at that. I love Firefox, but Chrome is what people are mostly surfing with. Your iOS system, you'll see we have about 70% new visitors to our site, about 30% returning. In the top 5 countries that are hitting the page, certainly is the United States. And when I look at Russia, I think about the large contingent of independent studies that Karis has in Russia, and they bring those international students over here, so they're Googling us and looking at us before they come. We have 12 visitor center volunteers who donate well over 2,500 hours to us each year. Our FAM tour, familiarization tour. We put people on a school bus. It's our volunteers, but it's also business owners that realize we're going out to visit attractions this year, and they want to do business with attractions. So they go out to be able to establish that relationship. Our whiteboard was a hit this year. We start that on Memorial Day. We send out an email to every lodging place in Teller County and ask them, what's your vacancy for the weekend? I'm going to tell you through just theory of looking at that whiteboard, we had about an 80% full rate this summer with our lodging. I'm still amazed. People travel, they walk in July 4th and say, I'm here, where am I going to stay? And we look at the whiteboard and says, you know, no vacancy, no vacancy. But we start calling. We have specific requests. People want to know where I can go with my pets. I'm in an RV. Where can I go? I'm going to stay for 2 weeks, types of things. And we work with them on that. Our lodging binders are out in every lodging facility in Teller County. We bring those in each year during the off-season, rehab those, put more information in there about those as well. So every year I come and I talk to you about what we do, and this year I wanted to take a little different spin on it, and I wanted you to hear from somebody who actually works in our visitor center, someone that you know that's been a part of our community for a very long time. She's an astute business person. She is a former wagon boss, as is her husband as well, and I wanted to introduce Lois Sill to come up and talk to you. She's been with us about 4 years, and you can see she was on our FAM tour this year, and so Lois, I'll invite you to come up and say a few words.
Well, I am Lois Sill, and I know practically everybody here because I've lived here for 36 years. So, and you know me as well. And I wanted to tell you why I volunteer at the Chambers Center. The first time I did this was 35 years ago, and I had just moved here and I knew nobody. And although it was not pleasant for them probably, I went down to the little cabin that was in the Avenue of the Flags, and I begged them to hire me. Free, of course. I just wanted to volunteer. Because it was the easiest and best way that I could think of to get to know this community. After I retired a few years ago, I began losing touch with what was going on. I couldn't keep track of what was going on in the community, and I thought that was really a shame because I'd been a part of it for so long. So what I do, I go down to the visitor center, the new visitor center, and I apply for a job. What amazed me, I've not been in the new visitor center, and what amazed me so much was what a change there had been in 30 years. It's beautifully done, it's beautifully organized. The information that we have is incredibly large. We can answer almost any question, actually most of them, with a handout. And the people appreciate that a great deal. So anyway, my reasons for working are almost selfish, I guess. I want to help, and I think volunteering in any community is something that we all must do, and I think it helps any community be better. But my reasons were selfish. I needed to know more. I needed to keep my hand in. I needed to keep track of what you guys are doing, what everybody in the community is doing. So I joined the group. I was amazed and pleased to find that the group of volunteers was not only intelligent and knowledgeable about the area, but they were so involved in what's going on. And that's what you have to be. Everybody loves what they're doing down there. We go because we enjoy every minute of it. One of the things I like best about it is that the people, when they come in the door, our visitors, whether they're from, they come every year from Texas, or they're new in our community, very first time visiting, or, as many of them are lately, they're looking for a new place to live, and we might be it. When they come in the door and you watch their actions, they look around and they're astounded and they smile. It's a beautiful place to enter. And I know that personally because I have been in lots and lots of visitor centers, both in Colorado and all over the states. And I have never been in a visitor center that's better run, more comfortable to come into, or has more information instantly than the one that we have right here. And for that reason, I am extremely proud to represent all of our volunteers today and to tell you that they are a wonderful group of people. They know this community, they love the community, and they want the people who come in that door to love it just as much as we do. And it's a gratifying job, a very gratifying job, because people who come in and gather up what we have, information that we have to offer, go out happy. There's very seldom that they do not go out very pleased, overly pleased about what we have given them. They like it because, first of all, it looks good, it's bright, it's cheery, the people are nice. We are definitely instructed to interact with the people, and we do that because it's fun. But you get so many thank yous, so many handshakes, and I've had more than a few hugs. And that's really worth that whole thing, right there. So I need to thank all of our people who have been there, certainly Debbie, for making this such a pleasant, relaxing, and fun place to work. So it's better for me than it is for you guys. But anyway, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Lois. We also have another Visitor Center volunteer that's just visiting council tonight, but Ellen Carrick is with us as well, and she works in there too. I also, before I go on, I have 2 more slides. I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce the Chamber board members that are here tonight, because they help support this as well. We have our chairman of the board here tonight. Lenore Hodgkiss is with us. I see Tanner Coy out in the audience, and also we have City Manager David Buttery, who sits on our board, and they help support and help really push what we do. Following up very quickly on what Lois says, we watch people walk in, and sometimes they're very hesitant. They walk in, head may be down. They come from around behind the stand there, and they greet them. And where are you from? What are you looking for? And you'd be surprised how people just open up and start talking to you. So why am I here tonight? We're here to talk about the return on investment. So I want to go over our visitor center contract this past year. For the dates we talked about was $42,000. Operational costs were about $58,000. Operational costs include administrative. It includes making all those copies that we give out. It includes our advertising that we do. It includes, we do thank our volunteers. We do a couple of parties for them each year to say thank you. Thanks for what you've given us of your time. And it does include a small portion of salaries. But you'll see the difference in the dollars there, and the Chamber supports us as well with the salaries of the staff, because it does take, in the summertime, all 3 people, and there's people waiting to be waited on at that point. So how do we figure out the return on investment? We look at your 2016 budget. We look at your lodging, sales, and property tax. And how do we figure that? We go and look a lot what Dean Runyon does with their report. And we know that within the lodging, we have a significant impact, but the percentage we look at is we feel we have about a 40% impact on that. I truly believe it's more, but to keep it conservative, we look at 40%. On sales tax, we're sending people to shop, we're sending people to buy gas, rent the ATV, go over to the Dinosaur Center, those types of things. So we figure about a 5% sales tax impact. And property tax goes back to much what Lois said. Many of those visitors end up as our residents. And so we figure a very, very small portion of that to equal about a $246,000, what we feel Visitor Center directly has an impact. And that's about a $5.82 return on investment for the contract. We enjoy working with all of the visitors that come through. Our relationship with the city goes back a very long way. We enjoy what we do, and so ending that, we want to say thank you and open it up for any questions.
Council? Go ahead, Ken.
Since you're sharing a lot of what happens there, what's probably the most memorable event that happened in the facility this past year?
This past year, most memorable. One of the things we're seeing a little bit more than I've ever seen before is we have some people down on their luck, and they're coming into our community, and they don't know what to do, and we have the resources there that we can help them and guide them kind of what to do. One of the other memorable things for us is Karis has an impact on our community, and it's a positive impact. But their student population is younger than it has when it opened. These people are looking for jobs. And so if there's a way, had one gentleman, and the mayor knows that I picked the phone up and called the mayor and said, he's looking for a certain kind of position. People in the Springs as well. What can we do to help? So whether it's looking for a job or visiting, we're there to service and help.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Deb, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Great report. Thank you. Are you sure Lois isn't paid?
She gets the check tomorrow. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, we'll move on. We have no additions, deletions, or corrections tonight. I'll move on to the consent calendar, and Suzanne.
Thank you, Mayor Levy. This evening on the consent calendar, we have one item, and that is the minutes of the September 15th, 2016 regular meeting.
Questions, concerns, council? If none, we'll just hear a motion to approve.
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Thank you. Suzanne?
Levy,
Yes.
Matthews,
Yes.
Sonier,
Yes.
Sawyer,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Carr.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Suzanne. Okay, I'm happy to say we're moving on to item number 7 on the agenda, and I think everybody will be pleased with this conversation. I'm going to start with Aaron Smith.
Thank you. Mayor and Council, I've received a letter, which I understand is a message from the attorney, Mr. Neville, who represents the DDA, reiterating a message that was discussed between members of the board and the mayor earlier today, and that is a request by the DDA to hereby withdraw any request to revoke the zoning development permit, and requesting that the item just be stricken from the agenda or otherwise not considered.
Thank you. The reason for this is because, in my opinion, we've had some great leadership, not only from our city manager, but from the board of the DDA, and I think we have a great resolution, and I'm going to have Mr. Buttery tell us about it.
Thanks, Mayor. Sometimes people talk about solving a problem, eating the elephant one bite at a time. And so, yes, Tuesday morning, the DDA board allowed the city to take a bite out of the elephant that's been in our community for some time, and that's the issue that's surrounding Site 1 of Lot 2 of the Woodland Station area, affectionately known as the Hole. So the DDA board allowed the city to move some dirt that was excess from some construction sites to fill the hole, to return it back to its most recent original shape, and we began that undertaking or that process today. The DDA submitted a permit request, and the city approved it, and we began doing that work this morning. We're finishing up moving a little bit of the topsoil out of there onto the AmeriGas property with that owner's permission, and so hopefully we will slowly continue finishing eating that elephant, but for now we're making positive steps towards resolution, and so I appreciate the DDA board giving the city permission to do that.
Thank you. That's good news for all of us. I think that, Mary Jo, would you and Tanner like to come up and weigh in on this, or just you, or whatever you think?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Mary Jo Larson, 200 West Midland Avenue, and this has been a very exciting week. We are so proud that we can put our bucket and shovel away, hopefully, and we appreciate the city staff helping with this. We appreciate council. We have worked through this. We're hoping to see an end shortly. We're planning to move forward with our events. We do have a list of events, and it has existed since 5/16 of this year, 2016. We're hoping to start seeing some of those come to fruition. Tanner, please.
Good evening. Tanner Coy, 550 Allegheny Drive, Colorado Springs. I would like to express my gratitude tonight. Very, very grateful, and on behalf of the DDA board and DDA members for the actions being taken by the city manager and city staff to help our community move toward a solution at Woodland Station. Fill dirt from past projects in Woodland Park is being delivered to Woodland Station to fill the hole and restore it to its previous grade, as Mr. Buttery has mentioned. Much more important than restoring the topography, the work will bring closure to an open ZDP that has been of particular concern. With the closure of this ZDP, the DDA's abilities to properly manage Woodland Station and deal in good faith regarding any further claims by any party to that land or the material stored upon it will be restored. This reduces people's risk regarding the property they own, opens the door to exciting possibilities for potential utilization of this diamond in the rough we call Woodland Station. This cooperation between city and DDA feels great. David Buttery, Sally Riley, city staff, mayor and council, DDA board, thank you all very, very much for the open communication and teamwork. Moving forward, please know that the DDA and the party represented by Steve Randolph seem to be near agreement to allow retrieval of additional soil that is located at Lot 2 of Woodland Station. That agreement might allow through July 2017 for excavation to occur, which is a bit worrisome given the history of that land and the contracts and claims involved with it. The DDA is very anxious to settle any claims in a timely fashion and free that real estate from any and all disputes, claims, encumbrances of any kind. The recent actions taken by the city are very helpful in moving toward that end. And again, I thank you.
Thank you, Tanner. Why don't you just stay for a minute and see if we have any questions from council. Some of them weren't informed prior to this meeting. So, council, I know you're happy with the outcome. Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I would like to particularly thank you, Tanner, for all the hard work you've done and that you continue to do. Mary Lou, you too. Al Bourne, I'd like to thank you. I know it's been a little rough for you. David, thank you. And everybody else in this room and outside of this room who have come together to make this community more of a community that we can enjoy and move together forward. I look forward to the future events and what you have in store for us. Thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Val.
Thank you for expediting this and working the city's efforts above and beyond. I have reviewed the handout from yesterday's meeting, and I'm interested in the plan that's going forward. It proceeds, it looks like, at pace, and that's welcome. I noted that you volunteered to reseed at a different point to eliminate that problem with the existing old ZDP. Also, you have something in here about a grant that will allow you to proceed with new grading. I assume all those are in effect with our planning department. Let's keep it kosher with Sally. And I congratulate everybody involved, persisting through trying circumstances and manipulations of personalities. There's a few items in here that concern me, but they're details, and I think the city will work strenuously to work those issues, silt fence, things like that. I'm making a presumption here. I didn't hear anything about that, but I think you've got a broad umbrella to work with, and I appreciate those people who have worked this out, and expect to hear nothing but good news going forward. Please, and thank you.
Thanks, Val. John?
When will the city be done with the dirt moving during this phase, or whatever you call it?
I'd have to talk, well, Dan, do you have an idea? I know they were working hard today, but what's your best guess?
Hoping mid-next week.
Mid-next week, you said? All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Actually, I do have a question. Maybe this is for Dan. Is there going to be excess dirt that we can leave on Lot 2 for future use?
That would have to be determined once we sort of get it back to the state in which we want, and then we would know at that point in time. So it's a little early to tell.
So once you fill the hole, then if there's extra dirt, maybe the DDA could still have that. I guess we can talk about that tomorrow.
The arrangement was for us to fill the hole. My concern is if having extra dirt delivered to the site would be another discussion that we would need to have.
Okay.
But right now, we're just getting it back to its most recent state.
Thank you.
And with only cost to the city and minimal cost, considerably less than a $48,000 cost that we talked about at length. So thanks again to everybody. This is clearly the way I like to do things, and sometimes we run into difficult times, but congratulations, Mary Jo and Tanner and the whole DDA board. And it appears to me that your board is all on the same page, and that's going to go a long way in moving us forward. So thank you very much. Look forward to tomorrow's meeting.
Likewise. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, tonight we have no ordinances on initial posting. We'll move to a public hearing and approving ordinance number 1288, and welcome Sally Riley.
Thank you, Mayor Levy, council members. I'll get my PowerPoint fired up here. And this public hearing is with regards to the use of the city's antenna tower and a license agreement that ordinance 1288 is referring to. And some of you may not realize that the city does own a 90-foot tall tower that's located on the west end of Midland Avenue. It currently, although shows antennas on it, it is not utilized by any company or agency in town or outside of town. At some point in time, IREA did use this for some of their communications. I imagine it was put in originally for city communications, and the local cable company did use it for a period of time. But over the last several months, we've been working with KTLF FM in Colorado Springs, and they approached us about a year ago to see if they could install a transmitter and a receiver and be able to utilize the little building that is the communications building at the toe of this tower. It's located on property that is owned by the city as well. It has access via a gravel driveway that actually goes up to the city water tank. So in your packet, there was a site plan that KTLF provided us with their zoning development permit. And I know this is hard to read, so I've blown it up a little bit and just point out that the red boundary is the boundary of the city property. The area with which the tower is in is fenced, and it is proposed to add a transmitter as well as a receiver and a Wi-Fi. This little white box is the communication building. There is some proposed work that needs to be accomplished to the site, repair the building. And this will all be done by KTLF. Provide a method for securing the building, removing the growth within the fence, attaching to the electrical system, because right now it's not fired up or run, and remove the abandoned antennas and the equipment. So here is the two types of equipment that they will be installing, the antennas and removing the other antennas on the tower. I would like to briefly review the 18 sections of the agreement, just so that everybody understands that this has been carefully thought through by KTLF's attorney as well as our city council, city attorney. So the first condition of the premises is that they're accepting it as is. They will be assuming all risk and release the city from any risk. The use of the premises is based on a $100 per month fee, and this is a non-exclusive rights to the tower. So if there are other agencies that are interested in utilizing the tower, they would be permitted to do that with a license agreement. The terms and termination clause says that this can be renewed annually automatically. There is a 60-day termination notice by either party that can terminate. There is a section dealing with interference, and that this equipment cannot interfere with other communications or usage per the FCC code or regulations. KTLF is required to carry a substantial amount of insurance and include the City of Woodland Park as named insured or additionally insured. The governmental immunity applies and is protected by this, it's not limited by this agreement. The licensee compliance is that they shall comply with all the applicable laws. The licensee is required to obtain and maintain licenses and permits and maintain those in good standing. This agreement has a complete understanding and integration clause that requires that all the agreements and promises are included in the agreement. The jurisdiction and exclusive venue is governed by state laws, as well as if there's any legal activity that is brought to Teller County courts. The notices are sent to the city, and the official name of KTLF is Education Communications of Colorado Springs, Inc. The indemnification clause deals with that the city is held harmless for this use. No benefit interest states that no city employee has any personal interest in this agreement. The force majeure means that neither party is in default if there is an act of God. The specific to license E means that this license is very specific to them and cannot be assigned to another group or agency. The severable provision is that each of these provisions stand alone on its own, and the counterparts gives us the opportunity to obtain signatures independent of one another to execute the agreement, license agreement. So with that, Robin Sedgwick is here this evening, and we are recommending approval of Ordinance 1288 to enter into a license agreement between the City of Woodland Park and KTLF for the use of the city's radio tower located on the west end of Midland Avenue. Happy to answer questions, and Robin is here this evening as well.
Great, thank you, Sally. Robin, why don't you come forward if you would, and start by introducing yourself and giving us your address for the record.
Hi, good evening. I'm Robin Sedgwick. I'm 9727 Kilnumber Court in Black Forest, Colorado. I'm the general manager of KTLF.
Great, thanks. I'm just getting some information now. Refresh our memory on programming for KTLF.
KTLF Light Praise is our main station, which you already receive here at 90.5. We have a new station, which is called the Legacy, KTLF Legacy, which is the second piece I have for you, which is our new station, which is Southern Gospel, hymns, and traditional contemporary. And I've listed there some of the artists that you'll see there, that you'll hear on that new station.
Thank you. Council, Kenny?
What would be your range by using this tower? How far out will you reach?
It should connect with our signal down in Colorado Springs. Because as of right now, I think it comes up to Green Mountain Falls, maybe, possibly, somewhere around there. It starts to get fuzzy. So we'll be able to get all of Woodland Park now for Legacy.
How about how far west? Just curious.
I don't have that with me in my folder, but
I mean, is it 5 miles, 10 miles?
I think it's over 10 miles, possibly, because let's see, we're all over the state of Colorado.
Okay.
Like KTLF is, but we're starting with Legacy, trying to bridge it out. So I'd have to check that. I don't have
That's all
it
right.
with
I
me.
just wanted to get some idea.
I don't have my engineer who's supposed to be here tonight, but he has to go to Fort Collins, so.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
John?
Is it possible for the city to increase that $100 per month fee?
Well, actually, we're a nonprofit, listener-supported ministry, and most of the stations, most of our locations in Colorado, we don't pay anything because it's a service to the community. Or I think, like right now, we're going to Walsh. We pay $100 a year, so paying $100 a month is pretty substantial amount for us. But
so we're getting a good deal.
Yeah, you are. You
All
are.
right. Thank you.
Yes.
Well.
And we're going to invest about a little over $2,000 to renovate the building on our part.
To Councilman Matthews' question, do you know how many watts it's putting out?
It is. We're going to be on 101.3 megahertz, and I knew I should have had my engineer here tonight. I'm sorry, I don't have that. I'm sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head.
I'd be curious if you can find it out.
I can send that. Yeah, I can send that to you.
It's not critical, but if it's 100,000 watts, I would be interested.
No, it's not 100,000. It's not 100,000 watts. I want to say it's around 20. But I don't know for sure.
20,000.
No, 20 watts. So it's a translator, so it's connecting with another signal. It's not a full power station. It's a translator.
So you won't get a sunburn if you...
No, you will not. It's just a translator.
Like if you go up to Shine Mountain, you'll get a sunburn.
Right. We also have a main, So this is a small translator. Sorry.
I have a question for City Attorney. I assume it's been reviewed by council, and do you have any hesitations that you saw in the agreement?
Thank you, Councilman. It's been thoroughly reviewed by council, and we have had many exchanges of the draft, and it is now in a form that I recommend to the City Council.
I have another question for Ms. Riley, if you wouldn't mind. We're talking about non-exclusive rights, like, let me ask a different question. We have a plat here, basically, or a section or a boundary we've talked about. They're really looking to use the tower and the associated buildings, but there's a certain surface area they're going to clear a little bit, I understand. Do they have to do grading permits and things like that, or?
Oh, no. They're just removing the ground cover, the weeds that have grown up over the years within that fenced area.
So when we look at non-exclusive rights, are we looking for somebody else to add another antenna to the tower, or?
That's quite possible.
Okay, so we're not limiting that, or how about another tower next to it? Does that even come into consideration for this agreement?
Does not come into this agreement. The way our municipal code is written, that any tower over 50 feet is required to receive a special use permit. In my 15 years in the planning department, we've never processed a new tower that tall.
Is this, it sort of looked like they were going to decrease the size of this tower. Is that true or not?
No.
Maybe, okay, they weren't going to lop some off and put a different thing?
No.
Okay.
Just remove the existing antennas that are up there that are no longer functional.
Is the metal structure of the tower intact? Are we going to, we're going to
Yes.
have
Their
people
engineer-
looking at that, right?
Their engineer looked at
Okay.
it, and this is an as-is. They
Yes,
accept it as is.
Okay. So if they have to put more supports, then that's their problem.
Correct.
Anybody else?
Let the music roll.
Ms. Sedgwick, thank you very much.
Great. Thank
Thanks
you
for
so much
being
for your
here.
consideration.
Thank you, Sally. Okay, we will move on, and I just need a,
Public.
I'm sorry. Anyone in the audience like to comment, since we are in public hearing? Okay, if not, council, if there's no other questions, we'll call for a motion to approve ordinance number 1288.
I'd move approval of ordinance 1288 as presented.
I second.
Thank you, Suzanne?
Matthews,
Yes.
Sonier,
Yes.
Soya,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Carr,
Yes.
Levy.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sally.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along, new business. We're going to approve resolution number 808, and Cindy Keating. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Levy and council members. The Parks and Recreation Department is planning on applying for a Great Outdoors Colorado Planning Grant to update our 2007 Parks, Trails, and Open Space Master Plan. Part of that grant process, GOCO requires a resolution from our governing body supporting the grant application. The applications are due on November 17th. Their board will award grants on April 6th of 2017. This opportunity will allow us to meet one of the outcomes from the comprehensive plan, which has asked for us to update our Parks, Trails, and Open Space Master Plan no later than 2017. So tonight, I'd like to recommend approving the resolution for the Great Outdoors Colorado Parks, Trails, and Open Space Master Plan update, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
What's the amount of the grant?
I'm sorry?
The amount of the grant?
The grant request is $40,000.
GOCO's been very good to us.
So I'm
Council?
looking at, it says we have to match, so we have to match 40,000 with 40,000. So we have 80,000?
The project that I researched is an $80,000 project.
Okay.
We typically, when we go after Great Outdoors Colorado grants, we like to submit a 50% match.
Right.
Their requirements are not 50%. Their minimum match is 25%, and of that 25%, 10 has to be cash.
And I guess, Dave, I can ask you this. Did we plan for this in our budget?
It will be for 2017. It will be within the budget
Right.
that you said.
And will it be, will it be at the 25% margin?
Cindy, what was that? Is that the amount that we talked about?
We actually, we talked about a 50% match, so it'd be $40,000 from the city and $40,000 from Great Outdoors Colorado.
Gives us a better chance for the award.
And then, I'm sorry, this is to just update the master plan or actually do some work, physical work on the parks?
It will actually be to update the master plan. And that $80,000, when I did my research of consultants, included a survey of our community to find out maybe there's some new desires in our community that we did not know 10 years ago.
talk a little bit about the process that you went through for the interim update some years ago where we had multiple neighborhood meetings? Talk through that a little bit to help the council understand what that money could be used for.
Sure. 10 years ago, we had 4 neighborhood parks that were in the original master plan from 1997. We moved those forward and we visited with those neighborhoods. We did individual neighborhood meetings with them, talked to them about what they would like to see completed in those neighborhood parks, and then came up with master plans for each individual park, and we put those into the complete Parks, Trails, and Open Space master plan. Those 4 neighborhood parks were Crestwood Park, Red Mountain Adventure Park, Sun Valley Park, and Chimney Park. Out of those 4, we've completed 2 and almost completed Memorial Park. So we've done pretty well for 10 years of a master plan.
That just seems like a lot of money just to ask a lot of questions.
And then they put the document together for you as well. So there'll be surveys, there'll be community meetings, they'll put plans together for us to follow.
I still don't, that's a lot of money just to ask questions.
It is. But it's not just asking questions, it's also the product that comes from that
Can
allows
we
us
just
then to move
take
forward.
that money and just put it right into our parks instead of just upgrading our parks? I mean,
upgrading the plan.
But I know I understand what's going on here. It's just, it seems like that's a lot of money. I mean, that's $80,000 just for a document and ask a lot of questions. So
I didn't go out for a formal request for proposals because that requires a lot of work from consultants, but I did do some phone interviews, and that was the normal cost for including a survey of your community. It could be less if you didn't include the survey to your community, but we haven't surveyed our community in several years.
See, we could put that to your salary. Wouldn't that be better?
I think the community might appreciate the master plan more than increasing my salary.
Just saying.
But thank you.
You're welcome. Val?
We're under huge budget crunch. I'd like to see us knock 100 or 200,000 off our budget to start with. It seems to me that a 10-year-ago plan to put this artificial deadline in is just that, superficial, especially when we got these huge debt service and other things. I would like to see this deferred for a few years and not impact our budget by an extra $40,000. That's not urgent, not safety oriented or anything like that. The fact that we have to do a 100% match is troubling. Understand that's a strategy that works, but an extra 40 grand in a budget that we didn't have no extra money in the first place, to me is just too much impact at this point. I would like to defer this for a couple of years till we get past some of these major capital investitures that we've undertaken with council and the city, and work on those strategies first. So I would recommend that we not do this. I'm against this. Yet another plan. We've got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of studies and plans sitting and rolled up in closets someplace.
Well, actually, we don't. I don't agree with that statement, but certainly if the council doesn't want to invest this money, that's your prerogative. The master plans that we've done typically have a 10-year life, and that's a life that is kind of a standard. And the council several years ago, both with the Parks, Trails, and Open Space Master Plan and with the comprehensive plan, wanted to have periodic updates. So what we've been trying to do over the years is maintain that consistency of the desired outcome of previous councils of updating plans. Certainly this council has the prerogative to change that. If you aren't comfortable with making that investment, we won't pursue the grant. We certainly do have plenty of things to do and plenty of work to do. But it was the intent of the council some years ago when they adopted the comprehensive plan as a component of that to update this plan by 2017. You get to make the decision whether you want to pursue that or not. And it's not an artificially determined date. It was a very intentional date because plans do have a life expectancy, and the council had bought into that concept some years ago. It certainly is your decision.
What would be the downside to putting it off a year or two when we possibly could have more money?
Well, I think the downside is that it's minor. I will acknowledge that up front. We have plenty of things that we're working on. We have some ideas of what the plans could have. It's the currency issue in my mind. It's much like at Meadowood Sports Complex. We have a decision to make at some point in the future about soccer fields or baseball fields. We don't know what the community's desires are unless we ask them. Master plans and the philosophies behind those and those inputs change. Priorities change within a community. That's what we would see. Has there been a change? But I would tell you it's not a fatal flaw by any stretch of the imagination if we delay this for a year.
I'll just speak for myself, but I feel Val is kind of on my side, is that since we haven't seen the budget yet, we're leery of spending this money or suggesting we go forward with it. And I see it's due November 17th. Is it every November 17th, or just this is like a one-time deal?
Great Outdoors Colorado has gone to an annual grant application, so I would say next year it would be around the November timeframe as well.
And so if the council's more comfortable, we can certainly wait until next November to make sure that you're comfortable with this process.
I will just say that I would be more comfortable to see the budget first and understand what we're getting into before we start spending money we don't know we have or we do have. Thank you.
John?
Do you have any idea where this $40,000 might go in next year's budget if we elect not to spend the funds this year?
$40,000 is about 0.5% of the entire general fund budget. So it wouldn't probably go to a specific project. It would probably become part of our reserve. We're about done with Memorial Park. We don't think there's going to be any cost overruns there. We feel very comfortable with the process that's going on with the Aquatic Center. We would probably just hang on to it and use it as it was needed, or hold on to it for utilization the next year.
All right. You know, and I could argue that past councils, well, of course, they can't look into the future, but the $12 million we're spending on the pool, a couple million on the park, and $1.5 million on fleet maintenance. If they knew that we were going to have those expenditures, then you know, they might have taken a different route. I'm kind of falling with Val and Noel on this. We've talked in goals and objectives. We just don't have that extra money, and I don't see any problem with waiting a year when we may or may not be in a better position, but kind of know what we're up against for next year. So I agree with you guys.
Well, then, Mayor, I would like to withdraw the resolution proposal to council tonight, and we'll bring it back to you at another time.
Council good with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you
Cindy.
for that discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move on to public comment. Items not on the agenda. I don't have anybody signed up. Would anybody like to come forward and say anything? Okay, if not, we'll move on to reports. And my report will be first. I'm going to start with an event that was held last Saturday at Charis Bible College to honor the first responders. I know there's a lot of folks in town that weren't necessarily buying into this particular event, and I thought when Andrew Womack came to me and said, I'd like to honor the first responders, and this is what I'd like to do, knowing how much they are in need of resources, I thought that it would be a positive for our community. We had a good turnout of about 250 people, although there weren't many from the community. Most of them, I think, were from the college and the people that work there. That said, Andrew Womack wrote 2 checks for approximately $27,000 each to the ambulance district and also to Netco. And if you were to talk with either of those entities and their leadership, they could not be more pleased with the event. We've decided that we're going to try the event again next year and continue and maybe change a few things, maybe communicate a little bit better than this year. But at the end of the day, I think it was a great event. We have a number of ways that we think we can make it even better. It's hard to argue with a check for $27,000 from two of our entities that desperately need that kind of money. So I was proud to be a part of that, and I will continue to be a part of it. And whether the city buys into that or whatever, I think it was very, very useful, and it was something that Andrew Womack wanted to do for the community. The naysayers will say it's never enough, and I get that. But that's a nice chunk of change. And like I said, the input that I got from both Tim Dienst, who leads the ambulance district, and Tyler Lambert, who leads Netco, was very, very positive. In addition to Jim Ignatius, who is the president, or he's the chairman of the board of the Netco Fire Department. He was very pleased with the event. Those two things were relative to the monies that were donated, but also there were some jackets, there were some things, and I'm going to have Miles talk about this in his report as we move forward. Maybe this would be the opportune time. Miles, would you like to tell us what else was part of that event?
Thank you, Mayor Levy. Just real quick, I wanted to touch on this. This was brought up to me by the mayor shortly after the 5 officers were killed down in Dallas. And he said, we'd really like to figure out something in the community that we can do for the law enforcement and first responders. And I thanked him, and I was at a loss in terms of what that would be. We had our National Night Out event that was a great success, and then shortly afterwards, this event with the Charis Bible College started to come together. And I was very resistant at first because I wasn't sure what it was going to look like. But they were very flexible. They were very willing to work with what I wished would happen. To that end, I asked that all the money go to the fire department and the ambulance service. Our city council, as well as our city manager, takes good care of the police officers here, and I want to make sure the money went to those agencies. There was a lot of staff that were there. There was a lot of volunteers that showed up. It was a huge success. With 2 of the recent events that have happened up here, one you know about, one you probably don't know about. The Planned Parenthood event occurred, and there's a rifle used down there in that event, and a number of officers were shot, 5 of them, and 1 of them was killed. Just prior to that, about a year prior to that, just north of Woodland Park, we had a call out where we had to use the sheriff's office Bearcat. And one of our current officers was in there doing surveillance, and a round was shot, and it struck just below his face while he was sitting in that vehicle. And it was a rifle round, and currently the equipment that we use does not stop rifle rounds. The equipment that's sitting back in the corner, that will stop rifle rounds. So it's life-saving gear. And so at this event, there were 7 vests that were donated to our police department. There was 2 more sponsors that came forward and donated some more vests. So it's not just the armor. There's a few other things. There's a first aid emergency kit with a lot of great life-saving materials in there. There's a helmet on there. There's a monocular so you can actually see what you're getting yourself into, as well as some safety glasses and a kit for the gas mask. So a lot of good stuff. It was a great event. It was completely unexpected, and I can't say enough good things about it. So I'm fully on board in terms of supporting something like this. It was a very positive event, and there's a lot of different opinions, and there's some very entrenched people on both sides of this. And just sitting here as the police chief, I just wanted to say thank you for everybody that was involved in that.
Thank you. And I think the police department got 6 of the vests. But
we got 7 vests.
7 vests.
Yes.
Sheriff's Department, help me, Renee.
Sir, we received 9.
Received 9,
and Cripple Creek received 5.
So that's 18 by my count at about $2,000 a shot. So add 55,000 to that 36,000 and that $91,000. I think it was well worth the effort and hard to argue with moving forward, at least where I'm concerned. So thank you. Thanks very much for your comments, and thanks to Andrew Womack and Charis Bible College. Saturday, October 8th, the Volks March at Ferris Recreation Area. That's 12005 Rampart Range Road. There's a 5K and 10K race. Start between 8 and 12. Finish by 3 o'clock p.m. This is a free and open to the public. $3 if you want IVV credit. Go ahead, help us.
Well, it's a Volks March. It's not a race.
Oh.
But it's a 5 or 10K walk. Volks March has German origins, came to this country in about 1975 or so. And there's a couple that put on a Volks March some years ago in concurrence or in collaboration with the Oktoberfest. They couldn't make it work this year for that, but they wanted to have it up in the mountains while there still might be a little bit of color. Farish is up on top of Rampart Range. It's a beautiful area. 5 or 10K walk. Just a very relaxing way to spend a Saturday.
Great, thank you. Contact Beryl Sandridge at 333-4475 if you'd like more information. Tuesday, October 11th, the Chamber is sponsoring Marketing with Confidence, a webinar that will start at noon to 1 o'clock p.m. Contact Deb or Lois, is she still there? At the Chamber, 687-9885 for more information. Also, Tuesday, October 18th, a week from Tuesday, the Chamber Business After Hours will be held at the Vectra Bank and Fidelity Title Building, 5:30 to 7, always well attended. And Thursday, October 20th, the Chamber hosting Power of the Inbox is an email marketing workshop from 10 to 12:30 at the Cultural Center. And once again, contact the Chamber at 687-9885. And that's all I have tonight. Council reports. Mr. Carr.
I've got a few things. First of all, I want to add to what the mayor said regarding Carol Harvey, who's absent doing her job for Homeland Security. Once again, a different kind of first responder. This community is very, very supportive of first responders, at least in my experience. This council person certainly will be forever. But I'm happy to see that we have people like Carol who are intent on doing their job, and I hope she's doing well. I got involved, unfortunately, with social media with the recent event you spoke about with Charis, and it's because they call my wife a liar, and that really gets me riled up. So anyway, nobody pay attention to that. There was a lot of misinformation out there in the community, and I had to jump in the middle of it with both feet. And I did, but our first instinct is to help the first responders in any way we can. There was a lot of talk about, well, gee whiz, the taxes should be all there. Why are we paying double and blah, blah, blah. And the intent was never to double tax anybody or anything like that. It was on most people's behalf, including the mayor, to jump in, not with his city council hat on, but with his personal hat on mostly. To assist that effort, and I congratulate him and everybody who was involved, and I'm glad to see it was successful. I always worry about the public. I get lots and lots of emails and phone calls every week. I guess that's because I'm new and they think I'm a sucker for everything, but I do listen to everybody, and this issue was a big hot one for several weeks. And I would welcome the public to really get full facts and information before they jump to a lot of conclusions. But I'm glad the event was a success. Lastly, on Monday, I was in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I got woken out of my B&B by a construction crew at 6 a.m. So in Cambridge, they start at 6 a.m., and which would not do well around here, especially around my neighborhood. But I was interested because I was wondering what they were constructing, and it was a 25 by 25 lot that was on a corner. It was a green lot with no real function, and what they were going to put on 25 by 25 lot, including, one has to imagine, offsets and this, you know, I guess they're going to put a 2 by 2 something on it. Anyway, it occurred to me that it wasn't really worth that, and I started to think in terms of Woodland Park, and I started to think, boy, I hope we never get to the point where we're trying to build every square inch of Woodland Park. I came here with enjoying the green space and the places we have, and we have quite extensive green space, but boy, I hope we just don't ever get to developing every single square inch of this town, especially when there's millions of acres everywhere else. Go to Utah, there's billions of acres out there. But it really was disturbing to me, and I hope we all keep in mind that there's a lot of people who live here who really do enjoy having that 25 by 25 lot next to them and undeveloped. Thank you.
Thanks. Ken?
Yes, I'm very pleased and happy tonight on behalf of Keep Woodland Park Beautiful. We have quite a few members here tonight to, I guess the official announcement will come later, but to announce the Lowe's Community Impact Grant that we have received for roughly $20,000. And I, first of all, before I talk about the other people, want to specifically thank one of the members of our group, David Perkins, who put in a lot of effort into this to get this grant and is following up with all the work that needs to be done. I certainly appreciate it. A lot of other people involved in our committee. It's a very hard-working group. I think one of the other great things about this particular event, it's involving quite a few people within our community. Certainly the city staff, Main Street, DDA, Keep Woodland Park Beautiful, as I mentioned, even the Cowhand, who's going to be involved, the Woodland Park Arts Alliance, and there will be others. And we'll talk about this more as it gets officially noticed. In regard to what you said, we're not creating something new, we're improving some things that are already here and updating some. And a big portion of this grant will go to Woodland Station, which I know Tanner's very happy about. Antler Archway, Pedestrian Plaza, Cowhand Patio, Bergstrom Park will all be beneficiaries of this. All those details will be brought out later. We're working on them now. There'll be another meeting tomorrow, or next week rather, and you'll hear the final announcement from Keep Woodland Park Beautiful and Keep America Beautiful in the near future. But it's just a great opportunity that we have, and it's putting things to good use to improve what we already have in our community. And again, thanks to David for his hard work in putting that together. I would also like to say in some of the projects that we're developing, for those of you who are listening, we are always looking for volunteers. If we have somebody there's a few projects that we may be able to get materials from Lowe's, but we need some labor to do it. Maybe things like sanding and painting. But if you're interested in helping out and updating and beautifying downtown, let us know. We'd love to have you as a volunteer. And other than that, I think I've covered everything. David, Jan, anything else I need to say, do you think?
We're calling Pedestrian Plaza by its real name, which is Woodland Square. There is a sign there.
All right.
So we're trying to get used to calling it Woodland Square.
All right. So you'll see more on this in the near future. But again, it's a great deal from Lowe's, and I'm very happy to have it. And again, thanks to everybody who's worked on this.
Kenny, thanks. David, great job. Thank you very, very much. Paul.
I'm so pleased to be here tonight and hear so much good news. It's very satisfying. My prayers go out for those in Florida. I've just returned from the devastation of Louisiana. It seems to just keep going and going. Please keep these people in our prayers and close to our hearts. I'm so glad that Karis and Andrew Womack, and it was such a success. I really wish I was there. And the vest, what an amazing piece of equipment to get it's incredible. I'd like to thank the college, all that they've done, everything that the city's done, the citizens of Woodland Park and the surrounding community for participating and volunteering, and for the participation in the audience. Thank you very much, and that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Paul. Noel?
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schaefer.
I had the pleasure of attending the first responders dinner a few evenings ago. I think the feeling was extremely positive throughout the evening. I've got a question for the chief. How many additional vests do you need to fully outfit your cadre?
That would be 13 total.
How many do you have now?
9.
9? All right. Would you feel comfortable at all talking now about what they're doing down in Colorado Springs with the police department and finding families to support individual officers?
Sure. The program that it's been done through is called Shield 616, and it's been done through Jake Skifstead, and he's a Colorado Springs officer. He gave a very good presentation where he has actually gone and put everything together that's sitting there on the table to my left. It's basically $2,200 worth of gear, and he's able to get it for about $1,000, which is less than any wholesaler can get it for because of the relationship that he's built. And so it creates a relationship between the person donating it and the police officer or deputy, so that they can have somebody on their side and praying with them and to make sure that they make it home to their family at the end of their shift. So it's a great program. We've got about half the department outfitted. We've got a number of the sheriff's office deputies outfitted, and probably close to half of Cripple Creek outfitted already. So it's a great program. It's probably in 6 different states already, and it's wonderful.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Chief, do I understand this is a personal thing, so it's the equipment's tailored for a specific officer?
You're correct. The vest and gear that's over there is a large.
So they go with him if he resigns or moves on to different places?
Correct, and after 5 years, it has to be replaced, so yeah. There's also a process for that.
Great, thank you very much, Council. Move on to City Attorney's report, and Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Levy. I have a brief report for Council. That is a brief report on a computer forensic investigation done in connection with email retrievals. I will preface my remarks by saying that I have no expertise in computer forensics or email IT matters. That being the case, if there are any questions based on my report, I will note for Council now that I will take those down and respond to Council at a later time. So in connection with the city's duties in responding to open records requests, the city followed up to verify whether any emails were left unretrieved, specifically with regard to emails of the former Economic Development Director from a specified period and whether those had all been retrieved. This investigation was conducted by special counsel assigned to the task by CIRSA, the city's insurer, and they hired a third-party computer forensic investigator. That computer forensic investigator concluded that there were no further emails to be retrieved. So bottom line is that the work on retrieving emails that had been done prior to that from the supposed gap were the methodology and the steps taken were done correctly according to the report of this third-party forensic investigator. And that concludes my report, Council.
I think I'd just add a couple things that we talked about. I hope they're appropriate. There was somewhere around 73,000 emails, and my understanding is some of them were confidential. They call it inadvertent, right? And so I just wanted to thanks IRSA for helping us out with that. I think that we had the money to do that, and we're moving forward. Okay. City Manager's report. Mr. Buttery?
Thank you, Mayor. Dan, why don't you give us a quick update on our capital projects?
All right, Memorial Park, making strides every day. A couple noticeable activities happened this week, actually yesterday. Paving of Center Street just north of Henrietta took place, and also the sidewalk at the corner of Park and Henrietta was installed yesterday. The north toilet room is currently being outfitted with interior finishes, and hopefully that will be wrapped up here pretty soon, and construction of the southern one is well underway. The aquatic center, it's creeping out of the ground each day, inch by inch. Lots of walls going up, and they actually poured the slab of the lap pool this week, and they got their first taste of winter today, and they have the proper materials on site to protect all their work, so moving forward, making progress every day.
Great. Thanks, Dan.
Sure.
Sally, you've got something for us as well, I think.
Yes, thank you very much. A few weeks ago, you heard Councilwoman Harvey talk about the new publication of Discovering UPass, Volume 2, and in thanks of the partnership that the City of Woodland Park has with the UPass Historical Society, the Board of Directors would like for you all to have your very own copies. And Suzanne, I have them on the chair there for everyone. So this is a great, the Historical Society really appreciates the support from the city for all that you do, and in honor of the 125th anniversary this year, they were able to complete this publication, and on Saturday from noon to 3 p.m. at the UPass Brewery, there is a book signing, and authors will be available there, and the general public would be able to purchase their books. So again, the Board of Directors is very appreciative of all the support that you provide to the Historical Society and being able to share and protect the culture and the artifacts that we have in Woodland Park's history. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice.
Signed copies, too.
Yes. Yeah. Very nice. Thank you.
Anything else?
That's all, sir.
That's all. I have just one other thing. I want to thank you for your leadership and crafting this agreement with the DDA. And, you know, we've all taken some shots in the last few weeks, but we got it done. We got it done right, and we got it done with minimal cost. And so thank you very much.
You're welcome. There were many people involved in that.
Yes, there
team
were,
effort.
as always. Okay, the last I have is Tanner Coy and DDA report, or Mary Jo, or both.
Good evening, again. Same me, same address. Mayor, council, staff, everybody. As DDA treasurer, I am here again this evening, simply to report to council. However, I took an opportunity earlier this week to forward a financial report to you. I have nothing this evening. I am here simply at the pleasure of the council to answer any questions, continue any dialogue or discussion that you may wish.
Well, I'm going to start. We've got some great things behind us. Dirt, for one, emails, two, and I think the third thing that concerns the city and certainly city council is the repayment of the debt that DDA has. And we understand that your revenue stream was reduced as a result of the mill levy reduction, if you will. But I'm wondering what what have you done, considering that, and I know that you're intent on getting that paid back, other options that you've looked into, if any?
Certainly. Well, to be clear, the DDA revenues are not being reduced. As the projected revenues from what was previously projected. Still see that as a very good thing personally. Mills going down, we'll all save money on property tax, but DDA revenues will not be what we had previously projected. What I included in the report I sent to you is a 10-year payment plan directly to the City of Woodland Park that pays back the full $1 million principal amount of the loan and $70,000 in interest over a 10-year period. Those payments are scheduled to begin next year in 2017 and conclude in 2026. That's just one option, if you will, for repaying the debt. It's one of what I see. I see three paths essentially for moving forward. That's one, some form of payment plan directly to the city. Second would be refinance of the debt, which is what we had pursued before, with the projected revenues being what they are for 2017, which is $564,835, and the projected expenses totaling, well, with bond debt as previously calculated, $602,638. That puts the DDA upside down, making the bond issue and recasting of that city debt into bonds not feasible. There are some options that we can pursue with regard to that. We can look at recasting all of the DDA's bond debt. Right now, the debt payments are set to retire in 2028. It's not clear to me at this time when the DDA's TIF expires. Vector Bank VP Conrad Freeman and Paul Benedetti both seem to believe that it's 2028. I've also heard 2031 is the date. My research and DDA legal counsel Paul Benedetti's research has failed to find any evidence as to when the date actually is. The DDA's TIF expiration is not spelled out in the foundation plan or in the DDA bylaws, and I cannot find a copy of the ordinance approving the foundation plan and creating the DDA, which should include that information. So if the city has any more information on that, please share it. We can review that. If indeed TIF revenues will continue through 2031, then we have a possibility of refinancing that debt, changing the amortization schedule when we do so, which would change the annual debt service payments, would reduce them essentially, and perhaps make it affordable for the DDA to refinance the city debt sooner than later. We can reduce the refinanced amount. We have looked at refinancing $1 million in debt, which resulted in a $120,156 first year new or additional debt service payment, which is currently unaffordable. But if we refinance perhaps half of that or some other amount, may be affordable. There are additional options that Council and DDA can explore, like expanding DDA boundaries, seeking new projects, new business, and other ways of increasing revenues. Not sure please don't misconstrue that comment as a suggestion at this time. Simply something to consider as we move forward. Third path forward would be that the City Council simply forgives all that debt and we don't have to worry about it anymore. So I vote for 3, but I'm currently working on 1 and 2.
Couple of thoughts. and I don't know this for sure either, according to Colorado revised statutes, the DDA lasts for 30 years. If that's the case, and you can refinance that debt at a longer term and have less to pay per year, plus looking at the budget, you've got $10,000 for beautification and $20,000 for Woodland Station improvements, if you will. I think the city would argue that the payback is more important than the beautification. And so I would at least have you and your board look at that possibility. It makes sense to me if you can reduce by extending the length of the term. Granted, it's going to cost you more in interest, but 2017 was the year that we agreed that it would be paid back. And Vectra clearly thinks that that there's enough money there to do that. They're willing to give, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, up to $1.7 million?
Potentially. Vectra also stated concerns that the DDA should have, as did our legal counsel. Vectra's at the top of the waterfall, as Mr. Freeman explained, meaning that all of the TIF revenues coming into the DDA can be paid back to Vectra for bond debt service. They have, the way they view it, $564,835 in revenues they can lend against next year. I mean, following that train of thought, we can simply refuse to pay the Dinosaur Center, Big O, Jan's Rocky Mountain Fitness, Gold Hill North, Trail Ridge, or Tractor Supply, or Eagle Fire. That'll save you $116,782. Is it an option? I would say no, but technically yes. And that's what Vectra looks at when they say we have $1.7 million in additional debt capacity. I'd like to tell you, beyond that, there is some concern that regulations that define calculation of TIF revenues for DDAs may be changing as soon as January. And it is not likely to be good for our DDA or any DDA's revenues. On August 24th, legal counsel Paul Benedetti said, it cited a word of caution, being that property tax administrators are in the process of rewriting the TIF calculation rules, likely resulting in more money going into the base and less into the TIF. And he urged us to keep in mind that TIF revenue might be overstated and we should budget conservatively. On October 3rd, he says the new TIF regulations that are about to go into effect are of great concern because the calculations increase the base at the expense of the TIF valuation. One of these problems involves reduction of the TIF portion of the assessment roll twice due to annual decreases in personal property valuation. Today, he says, as you know, some TIF legislation affecting DDAs is expected in January, and the revised TIF regulations are a problem because they do not appear to follow the statute and may adversely affect the amounts you receive to service existing debt. He has warned us repeatedly about this upcoming legislation and what it may mean for our TIF revenues. At this point, at this time, the 2017 budget is rather tight. Sure, we can save $10,000 by striking a beautification budget. And sure, we can save $20,000 in that budget by striking the Woodland Station improvements budget. There's $30,000. If we do that right now and issue bonds as previously calculated, the DDA's bottom line will still be upside down, negative $7,553, and that is with a volunteer working board No salaries, no staff.
But that's also assuming the shorter length of time.
Well, so we change the amortization 3 more years, and we add another $1 million in debt service, and we strike everything from the budget that allows the DDA to be of value to the properties within the boundary, which is its stated purpose in the bylaws. And we may be able to make it. Now, I will tell you, though, as a volunteer who serves that board, my hope is to see this DDA be effective, of value to the city of Woodland Park, specifically to the properties within the boundaries of the district, as stated in its bylaws. If the DDA is postured in such a way so as to eliminate its ability to be of any value downtown, you will likely see the people who serve it as volunteers lose their motivation. You'll be looking for new board members. You may have to staff it, and that will cost money, which will erode the ability to issue bonds. I think we stay the course. That's my recommendation. You have a strong working board right now. The DDA is improving in efficiency month after month after month, saving a lot of money right now. $60,000 a year of taxpayer money because of the board. We are structuring this DDA to pay back this city money that most of us did not borrow and did not spend. But we will see that it is paid back. In any event, I urge you to keep those things in mind as we continue the conversation around borrowing money to repay borrowed money.
Well, one thing you alluded to that you didn't mention just now is the expansion of the DDA and more businesses in the DDA, which would increase your revenue stream also. Val?
Yep. We keep seeing spreadsheets. The latest one talks about the payment plan. It looks very attractive. I would tell you that there's a sensitivity in the community to get the principal back. That spreadsheet shows interest payments, granted, back-ended, who cares, of about $100,000 in additional. That sounds like a very attractive solution to pay back the city. I think there might be a consensus. I'm just speaking from just a sense, not from knowledge, but I think paying back the loan with interest would be highly well received. But we need a proposal. Can we get past the spreadsheet business and maybe have your board work towards a proposal? The clock is ticking, and as the mayor said, we're looking at 2017. It would be nice to get something quickly, if possible, past the spreadsheet sort of situation. The numbers I saw there, granted, it's all projections, but to put something out there, put something out concrete so we can act on it, sort of like what we're doing with the dirt. Somebody has done something concrete. Thank you once again to the city manager and mayor and others, Mr. Bourne, to work that. I would beg that we get that final issue done, and please bring something to us with your board. But that looked like a very attractive solution in that payment plan to me, and it solves a lot of issues. The city gets its principal back. There's some interest, even back-ended, doesn't matter. We need date certains on payments, things like that. I welcome that forthcoming.
Go ahead. I wasn't included in the email on the spreadsheet that the council got, so I haven't seen what they have unless it's the same report from Tuesday morning. So we'll take a look at that. But I know you talked to Mike about looking at it as well, and that you were open to feedback from things he was seeing. Mm-hmm. He and I visited briefly. I think he's seen some things that might help with the discussion. So, council, I'd like for Mike and I to sit with Tanner and review that spreadsheet have some dialogue so that we can work with the board to bring you something more concrete in the future.
And Tanner, correct me if I'm wrong. There's a few things that are causing an uphill battle for the DDA to actually come up with a proposal. And every week we find something new. For example, Tanner just found out about the TIF laws changing. We've also found out that we're going to be $48,000 less in revenue. We also found out, Tanner and I have been discussing this 2028 because of the attorneys and the bank brought it up. We've been looking to when the DDA actually ends, and so you just said 30 years. If it ends at 30 years, does the council continue with the DDA? So that affects the amortization schedule because we only have 15 years left in the DDA. So if you do a 20-year loan, you can't. So there's all these factors that just keep getting thrown at the DDA to really come up with a solid proposal. So give us time. We're working through them. But every time we start to speed up, we hit another speed bump. And then we slow down. We speed up again, we hit another speed bump. So Tanner's working. I mean, Tanner and I talk a lot. We're working with the other board members and really trying to come up with a really good proposal to bring to the city. So please be patient.
We appreciate that. And I just, we want to make sure that we're exploring all options, that's all. And I think the 3-year addition from the 12 years to the 15-year still gets us to 2031. The DDA is still there that length of time, and extending that loan 3 years makes a huge difference in the amortization.
No argument.
Anyway, go ahead. No, I'm sorry.
Well, I will run those numbers and send them out, as part of the next report whenever I get that to you prior to the next council meeting. So we'll see what that looks like.
Yeah, that's great. Maybe you and Mike and David can come up with something that makes some more sense.
And, as far as bringing a proposal on the payments directly to the city, I'm happy to do that. I just, having any sense from council what the wish and desire is helps me a lot to know where to spend my time and what to be preparing for. So
why don't we just give them a proposal and start from there?
Well, we'll be happy to sit down and work with you.
Work with them and just start somewhere.
We recognize there's variables. They're going to be variables to the end of time. Mm-hmm. We got to start somewhere, and as those variables precipitate, we'll have additional discussions in the future. But I think just get off the horse and let's go kind of thing would be well received by some of us who are impatient. The other thing I heard mentioned earlier that was, do you have somebody bringing events topic up to, I heard events talked about, and do you have somebody making a presentation about that? I'm interested now that, I guess I'll go to the DDA meeting tomorrow.
There won't be a whole lot in the way of event discussion tomorrow at DDA, but we are working on that. It's, getting into the Woodland Station plan, it's just utilization of that property. Woodland Park has a very strong, healthy, and growing events market, and that property is, aside from future TIF revenues, the only asset that the DDA owns and controls. So if we're to make anything of it, that's a really good way to do so. So we're pursuing that.
Months ago, you presented, I think it was in March, really ambitious, nice events layouts and things like that. I assume once we get over the dirt issue, which various heroic efforts have been put forward, we'll start to see those kinds of additional things besides grading it off and throwing grass seed down.
That's
some structures and stuff.
So one last thing is we're talking about 2031. We might sell Woodland Station next year. Who knows? That'll change everything. So we're so set in stone to look at 2031, but that could all change next year or the year after that. So right now we're dealing with the factors we have now, but that all could change anytime.
One last thing on that, just for consideration as we're kicking this around and before I send you the next update. DDA, current bond debt's about $2.864 million. Debt to the city, 1.184. Future debt to city, 2.75. Okay, so we'll need to discuss that at some point. That is $6.798 million in debt. We have future TIF revenues and $1 million in real estate asset on the balance sheet. So I know I don't need to spell that out for the brilliant minds here in the room. 15 years left to dig our way out of this hole. No pun intended. It's, you know, the work is cut out. The revenue and expense report, the P&L, how I think of it, is finally starting to look pretty good. DDA can advance financially. Balance sheet, still erect. We have some work to do. So we are working diligently.
And make no mistake about it, we appreciate your hard work. The citizens, you know, are interested in getting repaid, and that's who we represent. And so we'll work together to make it happen. And go ahead.
I'm sorry. Keep in mind that recasting that debt is not necessarily paying the citizens. The citizens will still hold the debt. DDA is a public entity and tax funded. You know, it's still, the debt is still out there. So I
understand.
Just want that to be clear.
Thanks for all your hard work, Tanner. Really appreciate it. Okay, that said, that's all I have on my agenda tonight. Before we adjourn, just pray for Florida.
Okay, so the way it works is, say you get a PST fund.